a cóirde go léir chuireann sé áthas orm seasamh livniu an so I gcathair deireadh chun ómós a thuairt dómh siúda le a fuair bás ar san saoirse muintir na hÉireann. Agus tagamid chun na huaine seo ní hamháin chun na léacra a thug a raibh acu ar san saoirse a comóra, ach chun a dhearbhú go bhfuilimid ag dul ar aghaidh leis an obair agus leis an stracailt chun éire aontaithe agus poblacht nua a bhanú. It really is a great honour for me to join with the Republicans of this great city of Derry as we pay our annual tribute to all of those in every generation in this city and throughout this country who have given their lives for the cause of Irish freedom. We gather at this weekend at memorials and in graveyards the length and breadth of Ireland and overseas, not only to remember those who gave their all for freedom, but also, and very importantly, to renew our resolve to continue their work to achieve Irish unity and independence and to build a new republic founded on the principles of the 1916 proclamation. And the principles set out in the proclamation, which we've heard read here today, demand nothing less than a new Ireland and a new society based on equal rights and equal opportunities, cherishing all of the children of our nation equally. The 98th anniversary of the proclamation of the Republic and the Easter Rising is being marked in an Ireland that is still partitioned, in an Ireland that is still divided by deep social and economic inequality, in which elite groups of the privileged few still determine the quality of life for the many, and in which poverty and disadvantage marginalises huge swathes of our people. And what we need to ask ourselves is whether this unequal Ireland will remain unchanged up to and beyond the centenary of the 1916 Rising in 2 years' time. And I believe it's up to us in Sinn Féin to ensure that the centenary will be marked by a people's celebration, by education and politicisation and mobilisation. And we need to make the centenary another step forward on the journey to a united Ireland of equals. So Sinn Féin nationally has already begun to prepare for the centenary, and I urge the Republicans of this city to develop your plans and preparations also. 100 years ago this month, Cumann na mBan was founded, and it soon became the principal organisation for Republican women and played a pivotal role in the revolutionary years of 1914 to 23 and in the decades following. And just as women had to fight for their rightful place in society, they also had to demand their rightful place at the forefront in the fight for freedom. In the year that Cumann na mBan was founded, one of its leading members had to point out to the men that the women of Cumann na mBan were not, in her words, the auxiliaries or the handmaidens or the camp followers of the volunteers. She said, "We are their allies." So Republican women were to the fore in the fight for equality, and that's recognised in the proclamation. The proclamation which was progressive for its time in recognising the equality of women. In 1918, Irish women voted for the first time in a general election, and they helped win a sweeping victory for Sinn Féin. Cumann na mBan fought for the Republic in the Tan War, in the Civil War, and they were imprisoned in their hundreds by the first Free State government. So today we salute all the women in every generation who have stood by the Republic. And we recognise no false distinction between the women of Cumann of 1916 to 1923 and those Republican women who died in the most recent phase of the struggle for Irish freedom. This year is the 40th anniversary of Ethel Lynch, and we heard from her sister Philomena earlier. And I want to make special mention, if I can, of Ethel today. She joined Cumann in 1972 at the age of 20. She was obviously an effective operator. She rose to the rank of staff officer in Óglaigh na hÉireann, and she died in December 1974 at the age of 22. On that same day, one of her comrades, John McDade, also died on active service, and we remember him too. Interviewed in 1980, another Republican woman, a veteran Dublin Republican, the late Sheila Humphreys, said something that I think we should reflect on today. Here's what she said. She said, "I was in Cumann throughout the 1919 to 1921 period. It all seems so short now, so abbreviated. A mere 18 months of military struggle before the truce. That is why I have such admiration for the people of the North. 12 years now, they have suffered far more than the people down here, and all because of that decision to put things off until the next generation." Sheila Humphreys recognised the continuity of struggle and service to the Republic, and so do we today. The women of Cumann were once famously dubbed the unmanageable revolutionaries, and the women wore it as a badge of honour. Well, just to say, the unmanageable revolutionaries haven't gone away, you know. And the women of Sinn Féin are now the unmanageable revolutionaries of today. And a record number of them are standing for Sinn Féin as candidates in local and EU elections. And what better woman to lead them than Derry's own Martina Anderson, who is carrying the Sinn Féin flag in the European elections here in the 6 counties. So let's ensure that all across the 32 counties that Martina and Matt Carthy and Lynn Boylan and Leonie Riada are elected as an All-Ireland Sinn Féin team in Europe, a team that will put the interests of the Irish people before the EU elites and the Brussels bureaucrats. To read the Derry Roll of Honour and to see the tricolours over Republican graves in this cemetery is to appreciate in a very poignant way the extent of sacrifice on the part of Republicans in this city. And I want to extend our continuing sympathy and solidarity to their families and to all of those who lost their lives in the course of the conflict. We honour them all, and our task today is to complete their work. Nothing short of that. To complete their work, moving forward always to a truly free, equal and united Ireland. And thanks to the work and struggle and sacrifice of these men and women, we have achieved a peaceful and democratic way forward to our Republican objectives. The 6 counties have been transformed by the Republican peace strategy, the peace process, and the negotiations leading to agreed political structures. One-party unionist domination, direct rule from London, a militarised statelet, a sectarian political police force, these are gone, and they are gone forever. Yes, their legacies remain, and occasionally those legacies threaten to derail the political process. But make no mistake, there can be and there will be no turning back. And let the naysayers in political unionism and in British Toryism take note of our determination. It's been the tireless efforts, the steady work, the timely initiatives of Republicans that have ensured progress in the peace process, and our efforts will ensure that progress marches on. We are prepared to take risks for peace. And the participation of Martin McGuinness in the state visit to Britain needs to be seen in that spirit. It is part of a genuine process to develop real reconciliation on this island. It also has to be said that some of the commentary surrounding that visit was very wide of the mark. It reflected a wish by some to close the book on political progress and to freeze progress in 2014. Many in the political establishments in Ireland and Britain wished to turn their backs again on the north of Ireland and to ignore their obligations to fully implement the Good Friday Agreement and subsequent agreements. But we in Sinn Féin are not going to allow that to happen. It's over 3 months now since Dr. Richard Haas and Professor Megan O'Sullivan presented compromise proposals to deal with the outstanding issues of flags, parades and the past. Political unionism has either rejected the Haas proposals or prevaricated. And the negative approach of the British government has facilitated this. The British have broken their commitments under the Good Friday and subsequent agreements, and this is having the effect of emboldening intransigent unionism. The Irish government has already agreed that Haas represents the best way forward, and the British government must now take up a clear and unambiguous position in support of Haas. None of the difficulties that the political process faces is insurmountable. With political will, it is possible to resolve the outstanding issues, but this will only happen when both the Irish and British governments take a leadership role in ensuring such an outcome. In Dublin and in London, backed up by the EU bureaucracy, governments are imposing vicious policies of austerity and are creating poverty and mass unemployment across Ireland. For the Irish people, this means yet again another generation of our people sent into economic exile. In the executive here in the north and in the Dáil and Seanad, Sinn Féin is leading opposition to austerity. We need to help mobilise people to join that opposition in their communities, in their workplaces, and in every possible way. The attacks on public services, on health, education, housing, social welfare must be resisted. And we must also show, as we have been doing, that there is a real and viable alternative to austerity. Because for political conservatism to thrive, it needs to lower people's expectations, make them cynical, to divide them, to take away their hope and their belief that they can bring about real change. Republican politics is the very opposite of that. Our Charter of Liberty is the proclamation. Our role models are those who fought for the Republic against a mighty empire, those who inspired the Irish people to lift up their heads, to march forward and to demand their rights as citizens and as a nation. And it's the spirit of the civil rights movement in this city, of the women who led the campaigns for the political prisoners, of the tireless workers who stood by their communities through thick and thin, never lowering their expectations and always fighting for justice and equality and freedom. And our struggle has gone through many phases since 1916. Strategies, tactics, methods of struggle change, but our aim remains the same: a free, united Ireland, reconciliation among a divided people, lasting peace, and a just society based on equality. So let's each one of us get on with the work. Our demands are most modest. We only want the world. We want the Republic. So let's ensure that the European and local elections result in a greatly strengthened Sinn Féin mandate all across Ireland. And let's drive on together, drive forward to our goal of a new, united Irish Republic. A Córide, a Reidling, le Céile. Gur míle maith agaibh go léir.